faithfully delivering value, interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally's Book Talk. Today we're discussing the book Option B. The author, Sheryl Sandberg, was a woman who seemed perfect in both career and family life. She served as an executive at Google and Facebook, once called Facebook's First Lady. Her family was blissful. Husband Dave was her soulmate, who loved, understood, and supported her with two adorable children. However, life can change in an instant. In May 2015, Sheryl and Dave traveled to Mexico for a friend's birthday celebration. One afternoon, Dave suffered sudden cardiac arrest while exercising at the gym and collapsed. So, Dave died suddenly in his prime without farewell or last words. Sheryl and her family were completely unprepared. When Sheryl last saw Dave, he was already lying cold on the gym floor. Sheryl completely broke down. She wept constantly, consumed by regret, pain, and longing, describing grief like tidal waves trying to rip her heart out. She struggled to stay strong and control her sorrow, but everything reminded her of Dave lying alone on that gym floor. In desperation, Sheryl called Adam Grant. Adam was Dave's friend and a psychologist at Wharton School. Dee flew immediately to her, and with Adam's help, it took Sheryl a full year to emerge from the darkness. After recovering, she co-authored Option B with Adam Grant. The English title means Option B, originating from a friend's remark to Sheryl. 2 weeks after Dave's death, their children's school held a parent-child event. Realizing Dave could never attend, Sheryl painfully confided in a friend. The friend said, "Dave's gone. Your option A isn't available anymore. You must consider option B." So Sheryl chose option B as the title, representing life's unavoidable alternative choices. Through this book, she shares her journey to help others develop resilience through adversity. Now let's specifically discuss how to build resilience. According to author Sheryl, resilience refers to the speed and intensity of one's response to grief. It's the ability that helps people endure pain, overcome it, and ultimately move beyond it. To strengthen resilience, I've summarized 6 steps. First, recognize and escape the 3 Ps trap. The 3 Ps theory by positive psychology expert Martin Seligman identifies 3 cognitive factors that breed pessimism after adversity. Since all 3 cognitive factors start with P, in English, it's called the 3 Ps trap. The first P is personalization. Believing bad outcomes are entirely your fault. Sheryl initially fell into this trap. Dave died from cardiac arrhythmia caused by coronary heart disease. Sheryl blamed herself because Dave had mentioned occasional chest pains, but they hadn't taken it seriously or gotten checkups. She believed early detection could have saved him. To escape personalization, properly attribute causes. Don't assume all blame. Dave's death wasn't Sheryl's responsibility. Her doctor confirmed that even with early detection and diet changes, Dave's sudden arrhythmia would have been fatal. The second P is pervasiveness. Believing negativity affects all aspects of life. After Dave died, Sheryl felt the world couldn't function without him. She cried herself to sleep nightly, and mundane tasks triggered breakdowns. Like when her child fell off a bike, she'd think, if Dave were here, this wouldn't be so bad. At work, she canceled client meetings, feeling unprepared to negotiate or focus. Sometimes during meetings, tears would surface, forcing her to leave abruptly. People lose confidence in everything after one setback. To counter pervasive traps, the most effective method is to find counter evidence rather than completely denying oneself. Has this really affected every aspect? Are there any exceptions? Sheryl found such an exception. Once, during a meeting, a colleague drew her into a discussion. In the following minutes, she passionately shared her views. After speaking, she realized she'd completely forgotten about Dave's death during those minutes. After working for months, Sheryl found her focus at work lasting longer. Dave's death didn't ruin every aspect of her life. At least at work, she became fully engaged again. The third P is permanence, meaning this affects one for life and they'll never recover. Sheryl's imagination went deeper, envisioning her children's futures without dad at soccer games, seeing daughter's wedding, or walking her down the aisle. Just thinking about this overwhelmed Sheryl with pain and fear. But what's the reality? Psychologists conducted affective forecasting research. Some students imagined post-breakup sadness after 2 months, while actual breakup survivors shared their feelings, finding the latter happier. In short, people overestimate negative impacts amid panic, while reality is more optimistic, to escape the permanence trap. One method is replacing words like never or always with now or sometimes. For instance, when feeling awful, say, I feel awful now, instead of I always feel awful. Seligman's 3 Ps traps show thoughts, determine joy or sorrow. Different thoughts yield different outcomes. Escaping these traps means reframing adversity. Bad things aren't self-caused, don't affect everything, and are permanent. With this psychological foundation, people can move forward. So next, step 2 in building resilience is gratitude. If there are still things worth being grateful for in life, people won't lose hope. A grateful heart helps people find the beautiful parts of life and brings greater happiness. A psychologist once conducted an experiment where 3 groups recorded 5 weekly events. Group 1 recorded things they were grateful for. Group 2 recorded unhappy events. Group 3 recorded ordinary events. After 9 weeks, the gratitude group felt significantly happier. Adam told Sheryl there were many things to be grateful for. First, asking her to imagine something worse than Dave's death. For Sheryl, that would be both children being in danger with Dave. Suppose Dave had a heart attack while driving the kids to school. Then the children could have been endangered too. Every time Sheryl thought of this, she felt grateful God didn't give her the worst fate. Her children were still alive and healthy. Then Adam had Sheryl make a gratitude list, revealing many blessings despite losing Dave. For example, her supportive extended family, caring friends and colleagues. Most importantly, her financial security ensured her children's stable future. Remember, a spouse's death, especially a husband's, often causes severe financial hardship. Gratitude helped Sheryl feel somewhat better. What she felt most grateful for was still having her health. One day, her doctor called about a suspicious spot on her mammogram, requiring an ultrasound to check for cancer. Sheryl endured her hardest night since Dave's death. She couldn't imagine what would happen to her children if she had cancer. Next day's tests showed the spot wasn't cancerous. Sheryl felt resolved profound gratitude for health and life's beauty, having overcome the 3 Ps and completed her gratitude list. Next comes step 3, seeking outside help. After tragedy strikes is when people most need support, but those grieving experience 2 conflicting thoughts. On one hand, she'd actively cut off communication, like Sheryl, who kept a straight face pretending nothing happened when returning to work. She never mentioned Dave to colleagues, hating when people told her, sorry for your loss, or it'll get better soon. She felt they gave empty condolences without understanding things would never truly be okay. On the other hand, grieving people crave connection but fear rejection, worrying their endless sadness might burden others. Sheryl feared friends might secretly grow impatient, listening to her grief, which silenced her. Yet, inside, she desperately longed to connect, fearing relationships would turn cold beyond repair. She confided in Facebook CEO Zuckerberg, who said she'd misread colleagues' reactions. They wanted to reach out but didn't know what to say. This reaction is classic bystander behavior. When someone has a friend suffering tragedy, subtle emotional shifts occur. If the pain feels too heavy, they struggle to comfort and find simple condolences inadequate. To the grieving person, it feels useless, like scratching an itch through boots, so they avoid the topic. This explains why, when someone's ill or injured, many friends visit and comfort them. But during major life tragedies, many friends stay silent. Psychologists call this the mute effect. Some distance themselves, feeling unable to bear their friend's heavy grief. The book gives an example. Alicia, after being raped, sought support from her best friend who said, "I can't help you. This is too painful for me, too." The friend blamed herself for not preventing the rape. Tormented by guilt, she withdrew from Alicia. But unspoken grief doesn't mean it disappears. If everyone avoids mentioning it, relationships gradually become cold and distant. Self-isolating from friends made Sheryl feel like a lonely monster. Finally, she could no longer suppress her loneliness and grief. She posted online to express her pain. This post became a distress signal caught by those wanting to care for her. Friends flooded her with messages and calls. Strangers shared their own pain to comfort her. Sheryl realized sharing feelings isn't scary. Many hide needing help until people assume they're fine. But truthfully, people should both confide in others and openly ask for help. This strengthens bonds, brings people closer, lets sufferers feel cared for, and lets friends feel needed. So who should you confide in? You can't just dump pain on anyone. After posting, Sheryl used the ring theory to choose confidence. Ring theory places most affected at the center, with circles expanding outward by decreasing impact. Comfort those closer to the center. Seek help from outer circles. In Dave's death, their children were at the innermost circle. The second circle, Sheryl and Dave's parents or siblings. Third circle, Dave's closest friends and Cheryl's parents. Fourth circle, Dave's colleagues and Cheryl's friends. As second circle, Sheryl focused on comforting the children. For her own needs, she sought help from third circle, Dave's close friends and her parents. Or fourth circle, colleagues and friends. After posting, Sheryl asked friends why they'd withdrawn. One admitted feeling nervous about saying the wrong thing. Another friend said he'd often driven past Cheryl's house, wanting to visit, but wasn't sure if it was appropriate. So, what should friends actually do? They should tell the person in distress they're available to help. Like, there's only one rule: support them how they need it. Friends can ask, "What can I do for you?" or "Want to take a walk?" Having overcome the 3 Ps, made a gratitude list, and received friends' help, comes step 4 in building resilience. Step 4, face emotions and practice self-compassion, not wallowing, but honoring feelings, acknowledging sadness, then accepting it. Just reality. Sheryl and her kids agreed to stop and release sadness when it surfaced, rather than suppress it. After several tries, Sheryl found resisting sadness prolonged pain. Letting it flow made it fade faster. Alongside facing emotions, self-compassion is equally crucial. Self-compassion, a psychological concept, means treating yourself with the care you'd give others, not endless shame or blame. It significantly speeds recovery from adversity. Many U.S. soldiers returning from Iraq or Afghanistan develop PTSD. War trauma causes panic, grief, withdrawing from family, and struggling with daily life. Research shows self-compassion dramatically reduces PTSD symptoms. Understanding and self-compassion help people see they're not bad or disaster bringers, freeing them to move forward. Journaling is a highly effective technique. Psychological experiments confirm journaling heals emotions. Writing transforms feelings into words, enabling precise emotional identification. For example, if someone feels awful today, what exactly does that awfulness feel like? Is it sadness, anger, or disappointment? Then why do you feel this way? This method of analyzing your emotions and labeling them helps identify what behaviors are holding you back. When journaling, focus first on venting emotions. Write whatever comes to mind. Most importantly, Sheryl picked up a pen and recalled happy times with Dave in her journal, including their arguments and her longing for him. Writing helped her. Sheryl vented her grief, regret, despair, and helplessness. With an outlet for her emotions, she felt inner peace. After venting, try reviewing 3 good things you did that day. Even in the worst times, there are good things, like successfully leading, a conference call, cooking a nice dinner for your kids, or calling your parents to say hi. Write them down because these good deeds help people affirm and accept themselves internally. In one study, participants spent 5 to 10 minutes daily writing about good things that happened and why. After 3 weeks, researchers found their stress levels significantly decreased. But note, journaling isn't suitable right after a tragedy because at that time, people often experience acute grief and can't do anything. Some people react later due to the shock, feeling intense pain after some time. Rushing to alleviate grief or depression during this period may backfire, preventing emotional release and facing emotions. Once you can face your emotions and practice self compassion, step 5 to resilience follows. Step 5, find life's meaning and self worth. Family and religion can help. Finding meaning through work and purpose helps people recognize their value and significance. The Adams research shows that the more people believe their work helps others, the less burnout and depression they experience. When people feel their work meaningfully impacts others, they feel more energetic at home and better equipped to handle challenges. Moreover, some people find new possibilities through trauma. Sheryl had a friend, Jeff, whose wife died of colon cancer. After that, Jeff quit his job and joined a biotech company specializing in early stage cancer detection. He knew he couldn't save his wife, but hoped that in the next decade, his technology could save hundreds of lives. Jeff said now every morning he has more energy, and he quickly gets up to dive into work. Finally, this is about gaining resilience. Step 6, bringing joy back into life. Many people, after suffering major blows, feel they'll never be happy again. Especially after the death of a loved one, they might feel that their happiness betrays the deceased. Sheryl once thought this way too. She wouldn't play games with the kids that Gabe used to play, nor watch TV shows they used to follow together. She forced herself not to do anything that might bring happiness. She believed she was barely surviving in the world and didn't deserve any happiness. But even after suffering great grief, happiness is very important in later life. So first, people need to not reject happiness. The book mentions a woman named Virginia who had a happy marriage and 2 children, but her husband died suddenly in his sleep at age 53. Years later, on the eve of her daughter's wedding, Virginia's son died of a drug overdose. But Virginia wasn't crushed by grief. She held her daughter's wedding as scheduled and also arranged her son's funeral. After that, she actively participated in anti-drug activities and started road trips with her son's beloved dog, traveling around. Virginia said, "My husband and son's deaths are woven into my life, but they don't define me. Happiness is important to me." Secondly, happiness can start with small things. Some people think only major joys are worth pursuing, like weddings, graduations, or important anniversaries, ignoring small daily pleasures. In fact, the sustainability of happiness depends more on frequency than intensity. Sheryl suggests making a joy list, writing down things that can make you a bit happier, then follow the list and do them. Cheryl's way of finding joy was to restart playing with her kids, taking them on weekend outings, and turning on the TV to watch shows Dave hadn't finished. Also, when journaling, noting down happy moments is really helpful. Writing about joyful experiences lets you stay in a positive mood longer. Finally, exercise makes people feel happy too. Many doctors and therapists point out that exercise is one of the best ways to improve mental health. All right, we've now covered the 6 steps to build resilience. Step 1 is identifying the 3 P's traps. That is, when bad things happen, don't always shoulder the blame yourself or think the bad will last forever and affect every part of life. Step 3, you can try making a gratitude list to realize you still have many things. Step 3, we can seek help from family and friends. When seeking help, we need to open our hearts. Step 4, face emotions and practice self-compassion. Step 2, actively pursue life's meaning and self-worth. Step 6. Get back on track in life and rediscover happiness. With Adam and others' help, Cheryl gradually moved beyond her grief over losing Dave and regained her sense of humor. At the end of the book, she wrote that she started considering dating again. But Cheryl didn't stop there. After overcoming her grief, she created a website called Option B to harness collective power, letting more people share their pain there, help each other, and restart happy lives. After Dave's death, such groups provided much comfort to Cheryl and her children. Cheryl remembers when she first attended a grief support center event and met a man named Jim Santucci. Santucci told Cheryl that he had lost a child. Cheryl realized that in such supportive groups, almost everyone has a grief story, having lost a loved one. That Santucci said that only in such supportive groups could he hear people say, "I truly understand you," rather than, "I feel sorry for you." This understanding and hopeful tone, born from shared experiences, is like a guiding light for those still wandering in the swamp of pain. See, he also had such an experience, but he has come out of it. Well, that concludes our interpretation of option B for you. The listening notes are below the audio. We'll see you tomorrow.